Right, I promised it earlier, but now is going to be the part where if like that, a lot of that obviously was like the new school fans learn the game, sit by the fireside while our hostess regales you. Now it's for if you're the old school fan and you're checking back in, like I thought Starcraft died. Like I didn't think it died. What I thought was the classic story that those of us in the industry had was because streaming hadn't exploded back then and games like League of Legends hadn't taken over the whole world. Esports was just a smaller space, so it was the big fish in the small pond. And to me, it just stayed like a similar size. Like people know the viewership was still good and the tournaments were still good. And the other games just went up in viewership and up in money, and games like League of Legends just went out of the universe and kind of the biggest to this day. But I have to say, I thought, because I've heard about the circuit and I saw like obviously a lot of the players died off. Right, there's two factors I've noticed. One is another thing that's beautiful if you love a game and you don't care about it being the most popular is, yeah, a lot of the casuals will stop playing, but the absolute best players, especially Koreans, they will play till the ends of the earth. People will know some of the stories. Some of the great champions in StarCraft 2 guys still play now. They're just in some tiny team you've never heard of, or in China or something, and they're just in some back room just still playing, like trying to get back to the top, and they're never going to make it, but God bless them. What an amazing mentality, right? And so if people don't know, when you get a game that this scene shrinks down, yeah, in theory it's not as excited for the World Championship, but it means that like in some ways it can be harder to win GSL Code S because you play like the same guys and they've all won it, and now you have to beat them, and they're all, like you say, they're all racing for who gets the fifth one and who gets the. It actually becomes at the top level in more condensed, even harder. You can't get like an easy bracket. What's an easy bracket if you play 3 GSL champions on your way to the final? And so the thing about the latter day that shocked me when I looked up recently was I was looking up the prize money, and what the fuck, dude? If you take the 5v5 games like Counter-Strike and League of Legends and you divide by 5, you know, StarCraft 2 has had more prize money than these games do. Like, the total right now for my native game of CSGO is $140 million. So divide by 5, obviously less than 30 there. If you go to League of Legends, that has $95 million. So divide by 5, do it again. StarCraft 2 is at $38 million. It's a 1v1 game, guys. And that means when you go and look, if you ever click that list, you are going to be shocked if you are a Western fan from the old days. Because people who you would think are like an also-ran footnote, like Major, dude, they're on the list. They won like $1 million or something over their careers. Like, this is give me the update for you. When everyone says StarCraft 2 died, so I would say it's around like 2014 or something. It's around basically like Wings of Liberty went out. We got in the next game, and then like the expansions, people claim it's diminished in terms. But like I say, it changed as a scene, but in some ways it continued. Right, it's still an enormous game.
Yeah. It doesn't get the viewership that it did at its peaks or anything like that. Like, certainly not. But we still have like a lot of pro tournaments. Honestly, the whole dead game thing is the thing is, I've been around since the beginning. I remember the first time I saw someone say StarCraft was dead. It was 2001. Okay, with Brood War. Someone said in 2001 that Brood War was dead. Dude, we still have a pro scene in Brood War. StarCraft 2, absolutely, tons of tournaments, way more than Brood War. It's crazy. But yeah, it maintains, like, there's still a solid base of streamers. There's tournaments consistently, and there's like a lot of smaller tournaments that kind of like fill in the gaps, because the bigger tournaments like get slightly downsized. You know, over time they do go down a little bit. And yeah, maybe there's still like a good amount of players, but the Korean scene certainly has shrunk. There's no real new players. Like, in the past few years, we've had like, I would say in the past 3 years, maybe we had one new GSL Code S player from the Koreans, right? So that's like the latter scene in Korea is not very healthy. The pro scene is mostly just old guys, but people are coming back from the military and rejoining the pro scene. So it's basically the same group of guys that we had almost all along, which in some ways is making it really awesome. It actually kind of reminds me of when many years ago, like checking out Warcraft 3 tournaments, where it's like you see the 16-player bracket and you're like, I know every single one of these guys. They're all legendary.
A lot of the classic names, yes.
Yeah. That's kind of what like GSL is at this point, where you, like you said, like we'll have a group and it's like, okay, all 4 of these guys are former championships. In fact, we have 7 championships total won in this group. So that's like pretty insane. And with Taste and I having been there for so long, like we have infinity stories about everyone that plays at this point, right? And it's just, it's cool. And to watch these players get older and continue to improve. Like, we have DRG poking his head near a championship. He's older than Nest-T was when Nest-T won his championship. And like, here is DRG over 30 years old, and he's like sneaking his way into top 4 and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, like what a legendary character. So it's different than it used to be. There's less new players coming up. The Europeans still definitely have some new players coming up. The North Americans still have some strong players that are still growing and stuff. I don't think we're going to get anyone that ever wins a championship that's not already known in GSL for the Koreans. I honestly don't think that, but just the fact that everyone has such a long storyline with them makes it this completely different, awesome thing that, yeah, it kind of harkens back, in my opinion, to the old Warcraft 3 days.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.